Hi, Vince with Pipedream here. Today I'm going to do a little walk around on the Superlite Coupe I'm working on. What I want to show you is how we fabricated the exhaust using a stock Z06 exhaust, fitting it in the Superlite chassis off the small block 427. I'll give you a quick little walk around of the car. Very tight workspace here. The Z06 exhaust has to come off that stock stainless steel manifold down here, come up over the motor mount, and then up over that heat shield over the drive axle. Alright, I fabricated the aluminum checker plate there. That's basically a jig that lets me know where the exhaust ports have to end up in relation to the fiberglass cutouts in the back of the car. And you can see on the right side, there's a 5-inch MagnaFlow there. It hangs in there. So not only is it a jig that lets you know where the muffler has to end up in relation to the car, but it actually helping hand, it holds the everything in place. Okay, this is the Z06 exhaust for the driver's side. As you can see, it's complete, has the catalytic converter and the oxygen sensors. For this particular build, this car will not only be a high performance car, but it will also be street legal, and it will pass all emission standards. That's the reason for using stock parts. What we're really after is the flange that comes off the header and takes this turn. So what I recommend is not cutting too close to the sensor. Re-welding that joint is going to be a problem. What you want to do is you want to cut right on this weld, right as close to the cat as possible. There's no proper shape to the pipe whatsoever. It's preformed and stuff, so if you're cutting back off the weld, trying to join a straight piece of pipe, you're going to have trouble with fittings and getting a nice tight joint for proper weld, which is really important. Okay, I made the cuts like I explained before, using a bandsaw. Now what we ended up with was cutting right on the weld. We got a very wide flange to work with. So when we mount this under the car, and you're going to come off it with a really extreme bend or elbow, you're going to get a nice fit. Now if you have to grind the face off to change the angle or any kind of little indiscrepancy, you have that room to move. If we were to cut it back here, we can't. So that flange is, we can rotate the pipe on it, we can offset it, we can go a little higher, a little lower. It's just a lot more forgiving, and when it's welded, you won't know that we manipulated the stock exhaust. Same with the cats. I went right for the welds. I cut them clean right through, and then you can pull the old piece of metal out of the cat. That's from the stock pipe. Now when you fit the new exhaust in, it's going to go right inside that cat, and it's going to look like a factory weld, not like you have. Okay, so when walking up on the driver's side exhaust here, ran into some major trouble. What happened is that stock piece that comes off the headers with the sensor on hit the frame. And it hit the frame by a lot, not a little bit. So that had to be heavily manipulated and dollied into a different shape to allow me to utilize that piece. The reason why I stuck with it, even if you took straight off the flange with a 90-degree turn, I think it would still hit the frame. So I stuck with the stock and dollied it into shape so it's going to work. The problem with doing that is you have to dolly a mirror image of the new pipe in order to join and make it fit. So I'll give you a shot here of that. Going down under the car, you can see how down here I had to flatten that pipe on an angle. Now I allowed about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 3/16 between the exhaust and the frame. You can see how the other pipe, the new stainless pipe, doesn't quite align on the very bottom there. You see that bit of break in the light. That will align after I get it on a proper welding table and I'm able to clamp and heat and tack it into shape, and I can show you that later. So the cat's over here. It's cut off. This is a section, I believe this is actually part of a 90-degree pipe that I cut in the middle just to take a little bit more curve than the 45-degree bend. You don't really notice it too much, but the sharp curve continues into the cat and allows me, if you can see that movement there, that allows me to get that proper bend that I need to make that cat fit. And it also will move side to side. So that's the advantage of cutting right at the welds as opposed to cutting back from them, because now these pipes will fit in this cat and move around and I can manipulate them. Okay, we're back. Ran into some problems with the fit of the cat on the driver's side here. Took out the piece I had fabricated before and made an extra joint. Made 2 additional pieces in there before the cat. The cat fit in there, but it was too close to the engine block and it was actually touching. Right now, if you look down there, we have about 1/8 of an inch right there, and that's all I can get. With the height of the cat being the way it is, being straight and rigid, obviously you can't have any bends. That's exactly where it had to sit. Any higher, and we run into problems in the back with the exhaust. You can see in the muffler here, you know, we only have 1/8 of an inch there. Okay, and then clearance over the heat shield, maybe 1/4 inch. So with that being said, the exhaust clamp is in place. Everything is fitted. Everything is taped. I have the final tacking to do. I like to get 3 tacks on every joint. If I can, I'm just double checking clearance by the muffler here. There's a couple sets close to it. You can get more, do more. You need at least 2 though. Clamps are not going to work under this car. The best thing I can recommend is foil tape. Don't underestimate it. If you tape halfway around a pipe joint, it will be enough, 1 section at a time, to support that pipe before you can tack weld it in place. Also, there is a flow indicator when you're cutting apart stuff like this. Make sure the flow is going the right way. You don't want to weld this in backwards, or it's not going to work. One more tip when you are welding and tacking on the car. Basically, be mindful of your ground clamp. There's going to be a lot of electronics on this car, fuel systems, injectors, computers, sensors. What you want to do to avoid any kind of shorting or damage is you want to put your ground clamp on your workpiece you're welding. And you don't want anything, any kind of electronics between the point of welding and the point of ground. So get your ground clamp as close to your workpiece as possible on the seam workpiece. Don't ground it out in the front and work on the back, or vice versa. stay within those margins and you shouldn't have any trouble. This is a result of yesterday's work, tedious amounts of time for cutting and fitting, but here it all is. It's all mocked up. You can check out the fit of the joints and how the tube turned out. We're going to set up a purge. So what a purge is, we're going to flow gas through this exhaust as it's welded. That's going to prevent the crust or burn through building up on the back side of the exhaust, basically occluding the pipe restricting flow. So we do that by running either argon or another inert gas through there. Today I set up a purge with C17, so that's a mixture of argon and CO2, which will work fine in this situation. We run the line in where the O2 sensor was drilled out. And if you notice on the other O2 sensor, I have it only partially taped off because I do want the gas escaping. If you button it up too tight, when you come up to the final welds in the pipe, it's going to pressurize and it's going to blow out. As far as amperage, we're going to go really low amps, as low as we can, just so the metal puddles. We're going to set our pulse feature up here. I would pulse stainless all the time when I weld it, because if you burn the chromoly out of the stainless, you lose the qualities of the stainless steel. It's no longer going to be corrosion resistant. It'll rust. You're changing the structure of the metal if you do that. So do not overheat stainless when you weld it. Keep your temperatures down. Purge your lines, and that helps cool it as well. Okay, we got the final welding done on the exhaust. I still got the foil tape on from the purge. Just got it off. You can check out. See the welds, they turned out really nice. We're going to put the exhaust on the car now. I'm just waiting for an extra pair of hands. As a side note, in order to take our original mock-up out of the car, some of the studs off the flange had to be removed, and we wound up actually taking off both sides of the headers. That's really the only way to get the exhaust. It has to come up out of the car. You can't drop it down, so be prepared to pull the headers. Same way going in, you're going to have to get the header, the flange, everything all under there, get it together, and then bolt the header in, and then finish your work on the flange. Maybe remove some of the studs, but I would start with 2 studs in the flange, just enough to get everything in place, and then you can put everything back together after.